Reverend Dr. Raymont is an ordained Centers for Spiritual Living minister serving the Center for Spiritual Living Greater Baltimore community as our spiritual director. He has frequently been referred to as a Renaissance man and visionary New Thought leader. As a lifelong learner with a passion for self-development, personal transformation, transmutation, and transfiguration, he lives his bliss as a teacher, minister, author, visual artist, ASL performing artist, mentor, father, grandfather, and more. By giving people applicable tools and practices that enable them to live a more fulfilled life, recognizing, realizing, and materializing their full divine potential. His mission is to live, move, and be an active member of society who serves to educate, elucidate, and emancipate people and communities to awaken and empower themselves. ACTIVE is an acronym that stands for authentic, compassionate, transparent, inspired, vibrant, and empowered. I give you Reverend Dr. Ray.
Namaste, greetings, and hello, happy Sunday. So, let's jump right on in because we got a good bit of meaty stuff to discuss today. So, as you've already sort of heard from pre-service meditation, pre-service music, the opening prayer, the in-service spiritual practice, Safi's song, like you've already got the idea of there's something wanting to be born, wanting to be expressed, wanting to be surrendered and released so that that which is our next greatest can be surrendered into. So today we're talking about the joy of becoming, right? In the stillness and surrender, it is time to pause, peruse, and plan the next descent and ascent, moving from glory to glory as we take in what we have become through this journey. While learning a new skill or undertaking an adventure, a critical step is sitting at the plateau to assimilate and to integrate our experiences before finding what's next. What's next, Tracy? In this quiet space is time for deepening and steeping in the experience and steeping ourselves in principle. The joyful expectancy of knowing we still stand on the shoulders of those who came before and that we are their dreams fulfilled. So breathe that in. So we're sitting and we are allowing ourselves to marinate on, to contemplate, to consider who or what am I becoming? Breathe that in. What's next? And what's now? What am I being invited to step into, to become moment by moment? Recognizing that there is a creative impulse that shows up in a variety of ways that is our predecessor, whether that is family, whether that is the teachers, whether that is like whatever that is before us, it is impacting us today. And as Maya Angelou said, I have great respect for the past because if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going. I have respect for the past, but I am a person of the moment. I am here and I do my best to be completely centered at the place I am at. Then I go forward to the next place. So each of us recognizing that we are where we are because there have been those before us. whether those before us have been family members, as I said, or teachers who inspired us, or books that we have read, or artists that have moved us, whatever that is from our past, we stand on those shoulders because those were the pieces and songs and notes and meditations and paragraphs that helped us to develop and shift and grow into who we are now. And as Linda Hogan said, walking, I am listening to a deeper way. Suddenly, all my ancestors are behind me. Be still, they say. Watch and listen. You are the result of the love of thousands. The love of thousands gave each one of us the ability to stand exactly where we are, to do exactly what we are doing. People we will never even know impacted us to help us become who and what we are right now, to do what we are doing right now, to have what we are experiencing. Now, the question is, in this moment of being still, recognizing that they are there, that we are here, that this is now, what is your vision? Carl Jung says, your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks within awakens. What is your vision? And what does your vision call you to do? What is the strategy by which you live, move, and have your beingness in life? In CSL, there's the global vision, and we have these principles that we live by. And I highlighted a few select words to anchor us in and recognize that there is action we are called to take, to awaken, to discover, that we are envisioning, and that this is working for a world that works for all. That this is the vision of the movement. This is the vision that we are collectively moving into. Now, the invitation is, well, what am I individually being invited to be, do, and have? What am I invited to be? Create a way of being that is in alignment with your goal. Well, what is my goal? What is my intention? What is my desire? What am I called to do? Your way of being will propel you into action. Your spiritual imperative calls you to act, not just to sit by and twiddle your spiritual thumbs. Exactly, that's what I was doing, right? Like there's nothing when you just sit by and do nothing. The spiritual imperative. Spirit is always acting upon itself. And then there's the experience of what do we have? The results of your actions will bring you to your goal, that thing that you desire to experience. And recognizing that this is an ever, forever, eternally moving process of spirit acting upon itself. The being is always, what am I being now? And what am I being now? And if you were here for the pre-service meditation, Eugene started off, well, in there, he mentioned this idea, so you can only breathe now. I can't breathe 2 minutes from now, I can only breathe now. I can't grab a breath from like last Monday and be like, oh man, let me reach into Monday and pull that breath into today. You can only breathe now. And then as soon as I surrender this exhale, the cycle begins again and I inhale again. The moment this thought of whatever this is surrendered, there's another thought and another and another. And as soon as one word is released, there's another and another. As soon as one note is surrendered and there's a pause of silence, there is another and another. Ever evolving consciousness, ever in motion. And that motion is exactly who and what we are. So we recognize, as Ernest Holmes says in the Science of Mind textbook, we are not becoming this life, but are now in and of this life. There is no other life. God is not becoming. God is. God is not growing. God is complete. God is not trying to find something. God already knows. So even when we, for linguistic convenience, say things like, who am I growing into? Who am I becoming? We recognize that there is the intrinsic truth of who and what we are that already is. So when I am becoming, what I am becoming is more aware of the truth of my being. I am becoming more aligned with that truth. I am aligning my words, my thoughts, my feelings, my actions to that which is the truth of my being. And we say, what you are seeking is seeking you, because there is that eternal, infinite knowing. And so moment by moment, we are grounding and reacclimating ourselves with love, principle, truth, and law. And in that, we recognize that no matter how life might seem, we might look at our lives and our lives look like a box full of jumbled up pieces of, I don't know what this is. And yet, when we practice and we bring the pieces out and look at them, and we understand that what I am seeing in pieces, there is that divine template that is already whole, perfect, and complete. And when I know what that vision is, then I am able to put the pieces together, not putting them together in some crazy, I don't know what to do kind of way, but there is a systematic methodology of recognizing where things go, how things move, right? Like really think about spiritual mind treatment. If you look at the individual pieces, we may not know what's going on, but when we understand the totality of, then we see how they fit together. And when we see how they fit together, we are able to then make other things fit together according to the truth, according to principle. And what we ultimately recognize is that even before we start putting things together, the image is already there. The words are there before they're spoken. The healing is there before the prayer. The answer is there before the question. So when we anchor and ground and have a vision, that vision and the lived experience are one and the same. But see, what we do is we see separation between the two. I have a goal, and the goal is, way yonder somewhere. But the goal is right here and right now. The vision is right here and right now. The amen is right here and right now, because God is right here and right now. So we're invited to understand and practice the process, knowing that. No matter what things look like, practice it, knowing that even though I may not see where this piece fits in the puzzle of my life, I know that it has a right and perfect place where it is already meant to be, even though I don't know where that is yet. And that when I am clear in the vision and I know, and I look at the piece and I see the vision, then I know where the piece now goes. Ernest Holmes says, let us learn to be still and let the truth speak through us. To be still and know that the inner light shines. Be still. Put into practice what it means to be still and know. To be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that you are God. Be still and know that you are love. Be still and know that you are whole, perfect, and complete. Leonard Jacobson says, we are on a journey of becoming that which we already are. Breathe that in. We're on a journey to become what we already are. That is the impossible, impossible. That is the joyful paradox of our lives. So while it may seem paradoxical, things may seem in opposition, The moment we are still and know, then we are able to step into the joyful process of putting pieces in the jigsaw puzzle. Because see, I grew up in a family where, we did jigsaw puzzles often. And I remember how frustrated I would get that the puzzle wasn't coming together fast enough. Impatient. And then my father sat down with me one day and said, dump the pieces out of the box. Pause. Now turn all the pieces over so that the image is facing up. Now, all of the things that are of similar colors, separate them. And then notice there's a border. All the pieces that are certain edge that you recognize as that's the border, separate them. And then start to work from the outside edges in. Oh, what? Changes your entire process. But I had to be still and know that there is a method. Be still and know that the puzzle, the image is there even when I don't necessarily see it. And then in that, it's like, oh, now I'm able to have fun because now I understand the point of the puzzle. The puzzle is now a game. It is now a process, and I am able to enjoy it. Completely different. Now, where can we apply that concept in our lives? Pause and breathe. One of the things Eugene said earlier in referencing the law, the law receives. Whatever it is that you are giving, saying, being, the law says yes. In the same way that you may not know what this is, but what this is the image of an injection mold. And whatever the mold receives, it creates. The law, whatever it receives, it says yes, and it creates. So in the same way that one injection mold creates Legos, there are those who take the pieces and they create a plan. And there are those who follow that plan with those pieces and they create things. And then there are those who say, I understand how principle works. And I'm not bound by that to only create what someone else has done before. I am able, using principle, to create things that I envision. So while you envision that and that, I am able to take those same pieces and create something else. I'm able to take those same words that you use and create something else. So what are you creating? What are your thoughts and your words and your feelings and your actions creating based upon what law is saying yes to? So what now and what next? Let's come back and say, what is your vision? And when we think of this thing called vision, there's a note what comes next on the what's your 5-year plan, your semester or quarterly plan, your weekly plan, and your daily execution of that. And your execution is the carrying out, the putting into effect, the performance of. All of this is action. Once you know your vision, you're called to act upon it. What are you acting upon? Because the law is always acting upon what you're acting upon. What you're thinking, feeling, saying, and doing, the law says yes. So there's a moment of quiet contemplation where we are being invited and asked, what is going on in my mind? Contemplation. The action of looking thoroughly at oneself or whatever you are contemplating. Right now, we're talking about yourself. When you contemplate yourself, when you think deeply about yourself, what comes up? Thoughts of inadequacy, thoughts of poor or low self-esteem, low self-worth, When you contemplate yourself, what do you think about? The act of holding an idea continuously before the mind. Now that the mind could very easily be capitalized. The act of holding an idea continuously before God, before the law, within the law. Because what do we recognize? Thoughts held in mind produce after their own kind, just as any seed will reproduce based upon the genus of that seed. Apple seeds create apple trees. Apple trees give yield to apples. Safi knows that if she strums a G chord, a G is what is given off. You don't strum a G and get a C sharp, right? Whatever we place is what we get back. So in the same way that how many of us have opened up something and there were instructions? Tracy really doesn't like Wayfair instructions or IKEA instructions. It's like they're not clear enough. There are no words. They're just pictures. And Tracy said, I need words. And it's hilarious watching Tracy go through this process. But what we are understanding is the same thing. This thing called Billy, I am contemplating the pieces to create this thing that I desire to create. In this case, a bookshelf. There is a desired result, a goal, an aim, an intention. And when we are clear on what that is, bookcase, we look at the pieces that we are called to act upon to demonstrate and manifest it. The desired result, goal, aim, health, and well-being. What are the pieces that we are inspired to? Because whatever that is, there's a part of us that is already it, or we could never become it. You can't become something you're not. That's why Yeshua said, be ye therefore perfect, just as your Father in heaven is. He didn't say, so listen, you got to take a class, you got to do this, you got to take a certification exam, and then. He said, be perfect, which means the pieces are already there. You're already it. You just have to act upon it, be it. So let us look at the pieces within our lives and say, which pieces are creating what I don't want any longer, because I'm still putting together a bed frame with these pieces in my life. But those pieces are from an old set. That's not going to get me a bookcase. Oh, so let me reassess the pieces of my life. The things that are working and not working. The things that I try to make them fit where they're supposed to go. Darn it, this puzzle piece is going to fit where I want it to go. And then you realize, but that's not where it goes. That relationship that you're fighting to make it, it's not where it goes. It's not what it's supposed to be. It's not what it's supposed to do. So joyfully surrender it. Joyfully surrender what is to be gone, to surrender, to allow what is the truth of your being. Holmes says in The Science of Mind, the mind of each person is some part of the mind of God. Therefore, it contains within itself unlimited possibility of expansion and self-expression. Why? Because it's already what is God. Your thoughts are God's thoughts. Your words are God's words. Your actions are God expressing itself and acting as you. So be clear that from the beginning, we are able to declare a thing. I declare the end from the beginning. The moment I start a treatment, I am very clear of what the amen is before the first word is spoken. What did you say? Yep.
You say, I start to speak to them. I started with amen. Amen. Da, 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 da,
Exactly. So I declare the end from the beginning. I say, my purpose will stand, and all my good pleasure I will accomplish. And we could even take that out and say, and all my good pleasure I am accomplishing. Truly I have spoken, and truly I am bringing it to pass. I have planned it, and I am surely doing it now. What happens when that declaration of power is what we stand on? Changes the energy completely. So there's this aspect of our lives, most certainly, where in the beginning, we don't know. We just go through life based upon what family is giving us, because there is no way that that guy in the middle knew when he was any of those other four, because a couple of those is like, what's going on here? What is happening, Captain? I don't understand. Get me out of here. Put me back in the oven. I ain't done. And yet, through the process of growing and evolving and learning, you don't have to see the whole staircase. Just the one that you're on, this breath. Just the one that you're on, this thought. Just the one that you're on, this interaction. Just the one that you are on right now. And what happens is we find out through the process who and what we are becoming. Just like he did. At some point, we ask, what is the vision? What is it that I desire to become? What do I want to experience? Because what he did was very clearly, and he didn't even know what he was doing then, but the vision was clear, because at some point he said, what I want to be, what I want to have, what I want to do are all of these things and more. I want to be a martial artist. I want to practice ninjutsu, aikido, and kung fu. And it happened. I want to be an art teacher. Well, you can't. And it happened. What is your vision? What is it that you want to experience? Because the moment you are able to see it and feel it and speak it and act it and embody it, live it, the law says yes. And then all of creation changes. Now, it may take a moment, because the puzzle doesn't automatically jump and it falls into place. If it does, call Ripley's Believe It or Not and get a check. But the puzzle doesn't automatically fall out into place. If it did, what would be the point? If you already knew who was going to win the football game before the football game started, what would be the point in watching the game? I already know who's going to win. The play-by-play is like, I already know it. So if there's no joy in that, or there's less joy in it. So recognize that there's the possibility of enjoying the journey from that first step to the 1,000 miles, the journey from driving cross country, the journey from declaring that you want to be a certified interpreter or musician or practitioner, to the end when you have your license, your studio, your art gallery. The process. And it starts with, can I see it? Can I envision it? Can I anchor and ground and feel it? Are there people that I'm able to speak this truth to? People who will reflect back to me. Yes, I hear you. I can see that for you. I receive that, and I am knowing it with you. And then act it, embody it, and then live it. Joyfully become what you already are. Whatever the R is, whatever it is that you hold in your mind's eye as being, joyfully be what you already are. This week's practice, journal about who or what have you been throughout your life? Have you, Tracy could say, well, I have been in the Army. I have been a soldier in the Army. I've been a soldier in the army of the Lord. I'm sorry.
Wrong army.
Huh?
Wrong army.
Wrong army. Sort of. But you could say, who or what have you been? What did you become? And how did you become it? How did you move from being a high school student to being a soldier to being a retired vet, to being my sister. Like, how did you become that? What was the process? Hey, watch it.
Thank you for retiring me.
Well, I mean, you're not a soldier right now. So I meant a retired soldier.
Okay.
I may not have the right language, Tracy. I'm not.
Okay, I said thank you. Oh my.
What is the template, the vision, the mold that informs what you are becoming? What is the practice? And then lastly, have a conversation with 4 people about what it means to know the end at the beginning and to work backwards to become what you were before you became it.
That's awesome.
Let me read that again.
Yeah.
Have a conversation with 4 people about what it means to know the end at the beginning and to work backwards to become what you were before you became it. You're already whole, perfect, and complete. You may not feel it. Work backwards. Do the process, whatever that means. I start the treatment at the end, recognizing that this amen, this and so it is the truth about what I am saying, knowing that that which God is speaking itself in, through, and as me. Amen, that I know that I am healthy and well. Amen, that I know that these words must be true for all of the ways and places and people that God is showing up as an individualized expression of. Amen, that I know that the serenity of God is true for me and true for all. Amen, that I know that this breath is not my breath being breathed. It is the breath of God breathing itself as me. Amen, that I know that the law says yes without fail. Amen, that I know that when I surrender into the law says yes and returns unto me perfectly, precisely, exactly what I gave it to say yes to. Amen, that I know that in that which is the mind of God, for there is only one mind and that mind is God. Amen, that in that mind, nothing is absent, missing, broken. And therefore, this treatment is already answered prayer in the one mind. This treatment is already, and so it is, according to God. And because God says yes, and because Spirit says yes, and because the entire universe says yes, so do I. And I allow it to be that sacred yes. And so it is. What happens when we live, move, and have our beingness as that? Today's declaration, I will say it first, and if you feel so inspired to affirm it and declare it, say it with me the second time. I sit in joyful expectation of the revelation of God. Together. I sit in joyful expectation of the revelation of God, as God is revealing itself in, through, and as me and all that I experience. I joyfully sit and expect it to be what it is. And so it is. So we breathe and anchor in, recognizing that though this thing called Sunday service comes to an end, that thing called being in service, being of service, being how Spirit serves itself, how God acts upon God in all ways, in all things, always. We breathe and recognize that that service continues. For there is only this one life, and this life is God, and this life is good, and this life is eternal, and this life is the only life, God, love, joy, becoming what we already are. And so we close and end, but we go on joyfully, enjoying our day, contaging others with joy. Knowing this, we allow the law to say yes, we allow it to be what it is, to mold and return unto us accordingly. And so it is. Much love.